All right, hi everyone, and welcome back to Product Training with Blue Triangle. So let's go ahead and get started for today's session. As you all know, the holidays are just around the corner, so we're going to spend our time here today discussing how to best prepare for monitoring during this time. So that means what dashboards and alerts should you have configured, what kinds of things should you be looking out for while monitoring, and when you do see an issue, what steps can you take to identify the problem using the Blue Triangle portal. Alright, so my name is Mark and I'm the support manager here at Blue Triangle, and we do these training sessions on Thursday nearly just about every week on general web performance topics and really how to take advantage of all Blue Triangle has to offer. So let's go ahead and get started with today's session. So this is kind of an overview of what we're going to talk about today. There's a couple of quick things that I would like to point out as far as best practices for holiday monitoring. Now, without getting into the very specific configurations, two of the most important things are, one, to have synthetic tests running against your key pages and critical user paths. So that means the critical user journey that users take to check out or to convert. Those paths we should be monitoring with synthetic tests, as well as any other important pages on the site. The other thing is you'll want to have real user alerts configured for these key pages as well. So that'll include performance, page volume alerts, low revenue alerts. Those are three of the top ones. And when it comes to alerts, you want to be sure that they're not going to be too noisy, so you just ignore them. So be very careful and considerate when configuring the alerts, and it may take a few days of tuning to get it right, the right sensitivity. So just be prepared to make a few tweaks after you configure the alert. Now for synthetic, you're going to have these alerts configured as part of the synthetic monitor, so any failures are going to they're going to show up as red in your dashboards for synthetic, and if you do have an email address in there, we'll be sending you an alert of any failures based on the error conditions that you define. So we'll kind of walk through that here in a couple minutes, but as far as the next thing we'll cover, we'll talk about dashboarding. So one of the most important dashboards in our portal is the customer journey analysis. So the customer journey analysis basically shows the user behavior on your site. It shows, bounce and exit rates by page. It shows the paths and journey your customers are taking, and it shows performance, and it allows you to identify bottlenecks in the customer journey. So we'll show you that one. There's another one called the site overview. That's a pretty standard real user monitoring dashboard that is great for just general performance and revenue monitoring. We'll talk about custom dashboards. So another kind of best practice I would say would be to configure custom dashboards so where you have performance, you're monitoring performance for critical pages in individual widgets, and I can show you kind of what I'm talking about here in a minute. And the other thing you can do is, if we have quite a bit of custom dashboard widget options, but if you'd like to customize it even further, we do have the ability to specify and configure a custom widget, which is basically taking a data science report and turning it into a widget. I can show you that as well. So the last couple things is, after you actually have everything set up, what should you be looking out for in your dashboards while you're sitting around monitoring during the holidays? And ultimately, when you do see an issue, what kinds of things can you do to investigate the issue using Blue Triangle? So that's kind of an overview and a little bit about the best practices. I'm not going to go through any more slides. I'm going to actually jump right into the Blue Triangle portal, and I'm going to start kind of walking you through these different things. So where I want to start first actually is our alerts. So let me pull this up here. All right, so this is the alerts page, and you can configure alerts. There's tons of alerts that you can configure. As far as recommendations goes, we would recommend setting up an alert for performance, real user monitoring data, for performance for key pages. Now I have set up here one for the home page. Another important alert would be page volume. So notify me when page views drops below a certain amount, right? For whatever reason, maybe it may not actually be that users aren't hitting your site. It may just be that something's causing the analytics to not get collected. Maybe some sort of issue ahead of when our analytics tag loads is happening, and so our Blue Triangle tag doesn't collect the data. There's a variety of reasons why it can happen, but you'll want to get notified when something like that does happen, because typically it's going to be some sort of significant issue. Now, the third one we would recommend is low revenue. You can configure an alert to monitor revenue and notify you when it dips below a certain amount. So those are the three I have here. You can set one up here. We would probably set several more up for other individual pages, but just as for demonstration purposes, we just have one here for the home page. Now notice this is a % change alert, and we're looking at timed interactive. You can change the metric, and you can also make this a fixed value. So there's a lot of configuration tweaks you can do to kind of suit your needs. So that's kind of high level real user alerting. If you have any questions about that, I'm happy to kind of go into it further and maybe create an alert or edit one of these and kind of show you how it works. But we'll move on for now. And the next area I'd like to show you is alerting for synthetic monitors. So we go into synthetic monitoring. By the way, you can get to the alerts down here in the menu right here. And if we go to synthetic monitoring, we're going to go to manage synthetic monitors. And what I want to point out here is let's just look for one of these demo monitors, demo site checkout path. If we click edit here, I'd just like to point out that when you create one of these synthetic monitors, you have the ability to configure the air state, the air tracking. You can configure, how many node locations are required to trigger the alert. How many runs with errors, should they be consecutive? What should the evaluation window be, or the look back period? And then you can specify notification groups or just a list of emails here. So that's how the synthetic alerting works. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is start getting into the dashboards, and I'll start on the customer journey analysis. Okay, so the customer journey analysis, like I was saying before, is kind of like the best view that you can get really of the behavior of your customers on your site. So it shows their paths, and it shows all these performance statistics for each page, as far as exits, bounces, performance, how they're continuing or exiting throughout the path. And so one of the things to look out for in this dashboard is you want to look out for these exits. So this means when users reach the PDP page, the PDP-VT page in this particular path, users are exiting after that 90% of the time. So that's kind of a significant issue. Now, if we look at the timed interactive, it's actually pretty quick. So we can kind of gather that it's not a performance issue. But maybe there's errors happening on the site. So one of the things you can do is click the three dots there up in the top left of the card, and you can drill into other areas of the Blue Triangle portal to further investigate. So that's just I mean, there's tons of stuff you can do on this page, but that's kind of like a quick, how do you identify bottlenecks in the customer journey, right? Now, one of the things Blue Triangle can also do is track your campaigns. So over here, there's this tab, and it basically, in a simple table, lists out your campaigns and the performance metrics for all of those: bounce and exit rate, conversion rate, number of orders, and the amount of revenue. So it's a really nice thing. If you're not tracking your campaigns, your marketing campaigns with Blue Triangle, it's a great feature that we have to offer. So to do that, just reach out to your account manager or your customer success representative, and they'll be happy to set that up for you. But it's not required for the customer journey. The only thing you need here is just your page naming set up, so you can identify the pages, the different pages in the journey. The campaigns are just nice to be able to filter down the customer journey path flow view here by campaign, right? All right, so that's the customer journey analysis, and you can get there under Marketing Insights right here. So the next thing we're going to go to is the dashboard, and I'm going to talk about the site overview dashboard here briefly. This is kind of your bread and butter monitoring dashboard. It gives you kind of a holistic view of your site. Up in the top left is obviously performance for all pages. Now you can add some filters here if you'd like. Maybe you only want to look at the US or something like that, but this gives you a great view of your site generally. So you can see the kind of performance of your site broken down by device over here. You can actually, one thing some people don't really know is that you can actually click these little device icons, and that'll update the other widgets on the page here. If you just unclick that, it'll go back to all devices. Now, another important thing to be looking out for while you're monitoring is, are performance spikes impacting revenue, right? So is there a corresponding dip in revenue when you see a performance spike? That can be an indication of, it's a serious, that's when an issue becomes very serious, right? Sometimes performance spikes may happen, but revenue and orders remain steady, and in that case, it's not as significant of a concern. Okay, and you can also go over here to this geography map, and you can drill in. It's kind of a fun little thing here. So we're looking at the United States now, and you can actually see these the individual states broken out. It's a heat map actually, so it'll show you if any particular region in here is underperforming. You'd be able to see that by the color coding. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is custom dashboards. So you can go to a custom dashboard. So the site overview dashboard is pre-configured. There's nothing you need to do to set that up. It'll just be available to you right out of the box when you log in. The custom dashboards will need to be created in the dashboard manager, and you can open that up with the wrench icon. Actually, you can also add a dashboard with this button here, and that just opens up the dashboard manager. So you can enter the name and hit save, and you can start adding widgets. But I'm going to go to this demo dashboard one that I have created, and I just want to talk through a few things here. So one of the things we would recommend is set up a custom dashboard and break out the widgets by page. So like up in the top left here, we have performance for the home page only. Over to the right, we have the cart, search, product detail page, and so on. So, whatever your key pages are, you'll be able to see, really quickly at a glance, where an issue is. Maybe it's on the cart page. This way, you don't have to spend time figuring out where the issue is. You can already see that it's happening on the cart, right? So the next couple of things I wanted to point out here is you can create. There's tons of flexibility with the custom dashboards, but one of the things you can do is create a custom widget. So what I did down here is I can edit this and show you. This is a custom widget, and I'm looking at timed interactive by device. So it looks pretty steady here for mobile, desktop, and tablet, but we could change this to group the lines by traffic segment or OS, for example. You can group the lines by any of the options here. You can add a subgroup. You can change the displayed metric here. So if we update this, we'll be able to see now the timed interactive. I should have changed the name, but the timed interactive by operating system, right? So that's what that would look like. So play around with that if you're interested. One more thing I wanted to mention about these widgets is you can also break this out by device. So let's say you want to look at homepage on desktop. You could create a widget specifically for homepage on desktop. You just need to manipulate the filter options to do that, and you could you could create an entire dashboard just for desktop monitoring and a separate dashboard entirely for mobile monitoring. That's a strategy some people like to use. It just depends how you like to set it up. One more thing is synthetic monitoring. It's always good to have a widget up here for synthetic monitoring. The error tracking and performance is great. These are real browser tests, and you can see if this ever turns red, something is wrong. And it's a simple click here on this bar when you see any red, and this opens up the synthetic test results. So kind of drilling into an issue here is kind of quite simple. So it looks like this was the performance spike at the San Francisco node, and you would be able to drill into the waterfall here and identify any sort of issues. So it looks like here was some significant slowness with this particular resource. What I like about this widget is you're able to choose the monitors that you want to display. So maybe you have loads of monitors, but you only want to put up a few of them in your dashboard. You can choose that in the error tracking and performance widget type. So the filter here is monitor name, and you can just choose, demo site checkout path, and let's say homepage. And we only want to look at those two, right? So this is the same widget that shows up on the synthetic performance overview, if you're familiar with that page. And it has the same functionality with the click-through capability. Now, so let me go back to the site overview dashboard and kind of talk about what do you want to look out for while you're kind of staring at dashboards. What sorts of things do you want to look out for? So obviously any spikes in performance are things to be investigated from the real user and synthetic perspective, but also from the synthetic perspective, any red in the dashboards should be investigated as well. This may be some timeout errors, it may be a script failure, it may or may not be an issue, but it's something to investigate. So the other thing is first byte time. First byte time and base page are two pretty significant metrics when it comes to identifying issues, because both of these metrics, first byte, it's this orange line here, and base page was this light green one. These are both going to affect all other metrics as well. So as you can see here, this spike in first byte time caused an increase in these other metrics above as well. And we can see here between 8 and 9, always it's good to check any correlation to revenue. And it looks like revenue, it was a bit choppy during this time, but it looked like it was doing fine. But let's say this was a major problem. It was a major spike, rather, and revenue dropped off during this time. So this is definitely something we want to look into. Maybe the cart button, add to cart button, wasn't working. People couldn't make purchases. Significant, really big issue. So what we'd want to do is start here, identify the spike, and then, so this is real user monitoring. So we're going to go over to the web browser performance detail under real user monitoring. I'm going to open that in a new tab here. And we're going to look at the last few hours. And we're going to choose the top several pages. Six hours. Here are the top several pages. So we're going to hit apply filters. And what you can do to kind of identify which pages this is happening on is, so here's the spike here, and we're looking at all pages. But what you can do on this page is click the bar and see the graph update with just the data for that particular page. So it looks like it is happening on the account login page, not on the category page. Let's see if it's happening on the home page. Doesn't appear to be happening on the home page. We can look at my bag. Oh wow. So yeah, this looks like a big time issue on the my bag page. So kind of drilling further into this shaded region is basically the page views that'll show up in the scatter plot. So what we can do is click one of these page views on the my bag page. So by the way, I'm looking at the object level detail only. I think by default you're going to see it look like this. Yeah, so this is all the page views, but I'm just going to filter down to the ones with object level detail also collected for the page view. And those are the triangles here. And so what that means is we'll get a waterfall. So if we look at this super slow page over here, we can click that over here in this is the session, the page views in this particular session. So you can drill down into all the measurement details for this particular page view, custom variables, location and browser, and all sorts of good information. Now you can look at the waterfall by domain level activity, or you can look at it by object level detail. So here you can see this this JS file under paypal.com was a bit slow, so that may be something to investigate. So I'm going to pause there, and I know I might have taken up a little bit more time than I wanted to, but I'm going to open back up the slides here and see if I can answer any questions. Right, there was a question that you can see in the chat from Victoria earlier about the alerts, how much for the low revenue and the low page views, or the page volume alert, how much lower than average should you set it? And that's a good question. And what I would say is reach out to your customer success manager, and I would work with them to tune it properly for your site. but just generally speaking, I would set it a bit lower, far lower than typical traffic or revenue levels. Now, another thing is we like to recommend using real user data and synthetic data together to catch issues if one or the other doesn't catch an issue. So let's say that alert is set too low and we don't catch something. Maybe synthetic monitoring would catch a timeout error or some sort of script error. And so that's just one of the reasons we recommend using both of Roam and synthetic. Not sure we have ours set correctly as we were getting lots of critical alerts. Yeah, so the thing about alerts is you want to be sure that, so it's what we like to say is every alert is actionable. And when you get a critical alert and you get a clear alert and a critical and a clear and it's really noisy, the action there is to go in and tune the alert, or and once you get it tuned properly, you can be sure that alerts are meaningful, and the action is to actually investigate the issue. But all right, one more thing before I know we're a few minutes over our time here. One more thing I wanted to touch on that I did not point out is you're probably going to have multiple dashboards that you want to look at while you're monitoring over the holidays. And one of the features we have is a carousel, so you can carousel through different dashboards, and it's pretty easy to set up. You would just go into the dashboard manager and choose which dashboards you want to add to the carousel. And it's just this button here. And let's say we want to put the site overview and this demo dashboard 1 in the carousel. So I'll just click those buttons, hit save. So, and then now this carousel button enables, and you can either turn it off or set it at any of these intervals here. So if I set it to 3 minutes, what you'll see is this bar slowly but surely going across the screen, indicating how soon it is until the next dashboard pops up, right? All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and close things out for today. Let me pull up slides again. And so thank you all for your time today. And if you do have any other questions, we're happy to chat with you offline. So feel free to reach out to us at any of the emails here. You can reach us at support, of course, at support@bluetriangle.com. You can also submit a request or a question in our help center at help.bluetriangle.com. All right. And also just a reminder that if you did find the session helpful and maybe would like to watch it again or share the recording with someone, we'll post it in our help center very soon. And before then, anyone who registered for this session is going to get an email right after we finish the session today, and so right after we're done here. An email to get to watch the replay of the session. All right, guys. Thank you all for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.